Today, we'll take a look at Gmail, Google's spoiled brat who turned on its creator, and take a look at 3 ways at 3 levels of how to tackle some of that daily email grind automatically. Hello, and welcome to Work Life Win Repeat, your guide to tools, automations, and techniques to boost your day, your week, your month, even your year. I'm your host, Arun, and I'm all about making it snappy and user friendly. So why Gmail? It's easy to sign up, universally recognized, with a wide set of plugins that make it a powerhouse. Also, a spammer's paradise, aka the promotions tab. Love it or hate it, it is the go-to choice of 1.8 billion users worldwide. It is also the go-to example for terms like inbox fatigue and the unread avalanche. That said, a lot of what we talk about today will also be applied to most of webmails and even some desktop applications. So stick around. Today, we will approach the problem from the lens of automation. Let's see how a few simple protocols can help narrow our focus and save us time. This video stacks solutions layer by layer. You get to choose the level of solution you're comfortable implementing for now. Let's get started. The simplest approach is to use the resources provided within Gmail itself. Enter the filter and label approach. Labels are custom tags that you can associate with your email, while Gmail by default categorizes your emails into primary, promotions, social, updates, and forums. I'm sure you would have subcategories that are specific to your needs. This feature allows you to stick that subcategory labels to your selected emails. Since you can assign more than one label to any email, it gives us a chance to stack the context in a way folders cannot. For example, I like to apply a minimum of 2 labels per email. The first category labels to specify the source or content. For example, receipts, work, learning, bank statements, newsletters, statements from credit cards, etc. The second would be category labels that help define the action needed. Do now, do later, read, store, archive, etc. For each email, I can choose one label from each bin, allowing me to group my mails from different lenses. Gmail then allows you to assemble mails bearing a specific tag to deal with them in sequence or bulk. You know what? It might be better to see all of this in action. Over to practicals. Filters and labels are a fundamental part of Gmail's foundations. You can see that even when I am in my regular email inbox, which looks like just about everybody else's email inbox, there are filters lurking in the background helping you out. Let me show you where Gmail hides them. If you come to the sidebar and scroll down, you can see Manage Labels. Click on that. That should take you to the current labels list that Gmail maintains for you. Some of them are system labels, which are default for every user. These you can only opt to either show or to hide. And some of them are useful for your day-to-day use. I would let you leave them be unless you know what you're doing. Second, the ones that we are interested in are the manually made labels by us. So here we have the option to create a new label, but there are other ways to do that fairly easily, and I will take you through some of them. So you can see that I have a few labels already made, but this is not my main email, and this is not the place where I would be creating my detailed email structure. So this label structure is just for explanation purposes. Let's go back and create some. So the fastest way to create emails and label them at scale would be to start with a common email that you would like to categorize. In my case, I receive this regular newsletter from James Clear. Let's see what we can do with that with the filter and label system. Right click and find emails from James Clear. This allows me to create tags as well as filters at the same time. So with just one click, Gmail is able to filter all emails that I receive from James Clear. Now, once come to the search bar, you can see that there is a from James Clear search criteria attached to that. Come to this show search options inside the search bar. Now you have the option to create a filter based on the criteria that the emails are from james@jamesclear.com. Create that filter. And now you get to choose what are the actions you can perform on these emails by default. Some of the things that I would recommend at this stage, where we are specifically focusing on the filter plus label combination, are to apply a specific filter. Now, here I can say, here's the new label I want to apply, and that would be to tag this as a newsletter. Create that. And so it applies the label of newsletter. And I also apply that to 49 matching conversations, all of it from the same source. Let's see the effect of this. Now, if I were to go into any one of these emails, wait for a second, you can immediately see that the newsletter tag has been applied to it. I can even go and change the color of these to make sure that they stick out and I'm able to make sense of them and categorize them very quickly. So if you come to the sidebar, you will see all your active labels. So I choose newsletter and I choose a label color. I can of course add a custom color if I want to, but for the time being, I choose a color that sticks out. So as I recommended earlier, I would always suggest that you place at least 2 tags that make sense to you. One of the source and another of the action to be taken. So a newsletter for me falls into a filter of read. So I go in to create another filter and choose and create a new label, read later maybe. Yeah, so here's a tag called read later. This allows me, again, remember to apply this filter to 49 matching conversations. So every time I get a mail from James Clear's newsletter, it will automatically be labeled as both newsletter as well as read later. So apart from James Clear, if I receive newsletters from multiple sources and all of them have the same set of tags, I can then come and choose to pick all my read later items and process them one at a time or in bulk. So I create this one and give it a second. There you go. You can see that we now have a new read later tag. And just like earlier, I can come in here, change the color to read later to make sure that I can visually identify that. There you go. So what's the use of this? So let's say that I log into my email on a regular basis and I want to quickly see what are the items that I have tagged for reading later. I can just come to the sidebar, click on read later, and automatically Gmail filters all the emails that are tagged as read later. Similarly, I can choose them from newsletter, from bank statements, from tasks that I intend to do later, to do now, so on and so forth. And this system is inbuilt. I have earlier shared with you some of the examples that I choose as my tag structure. Feel free to copy them or to create the ones that make sense to you. On to the next. The filter and tag approach discussed earlier is well and good for quickly categorizing your email and putting a spotlight on things that need your attention. But some emails are just a tip of the iceberg. A closed-won deal, an upcoming event, that quote for your home remodeling, and others. This could be the trigger of a multi-stage project that email is not calibrated to handle. Enter a task or project management solution. In my case, ClickUp. While this is not a sponsored post by ClickUp, I am a verified consultant of ClickUp. Before that, I was and continue to be a ClickUp user. So if you'd like to follow my exact process, you can grab a free plan of ClickUp from my affiliate link in the description. Test it out and see if you like it. I manage my life operating system on it. More on that later. Else, look for a mail-in feature in your chosen task manager. Once you have a forwarding address, the process is similar. Let's build it out together. Let's talk about the auto forwarding exercise. Let's say that I have in my email an email from my client, and every time I receive an email from my client, I want to make sure that Gmail sends it across to my Action Hub. And as I mentioned to you earlier, in this particular case, my Action Hub is sitting right over here as ClickUp. I have an inbox called Start Here. I want to make sure that every time this client of mine, Arun Kumar, sends it to me, whether it is a task, it's an update, I need that to appear in my inbox where I can process it from there. How do I do that? Now, in this particular case, here's how you go about it. Go to Settings, see all settings, and you add a forwarding address. So this tells Google that every time you receive an email from a particular client or from any kind of a filter that you can apply, you can layer an additional action on top of that automatically. And in this particular case, we are telling Gmail that every time you receive it from a source, you will forward it to this particular address. As you can see, there is a tip from Gmail itself that says you can forward some of these particular emails by creating a filter. So while adding a forwarding address here is one way of going about it, you can also do it even at the filter level. But just to keep the process dynamic, let's add a forwarding address right here. Now, where am I forwarding this email address to? How do I make sure that it reaches inside ClickUp? That's where we have the mail-in feature sitting right inside ClickUp. You can choose to follow along with me using ClickUp itself. As I mentioned to you, you can pick up a link, an affiliate link from the description, or you can find out if your existing task manager has a mail-in feature. In ClickUp, you would choose the container inside you would want that email to be forwarded, right click on it, and in here you can see an option that says email to list. I click on that, and ClickUp gives me an instant email address that can be used as a forwarding address for any email to be sent across. And this is applicable not just to Gmail, but to any email client that you might have. Now, when I enter a particular address, a forwarding address for my tasks, I will be asked to validate it. And what that means is that Google will send across test email from which you will get a specific link that would be required. You would have to click that to validate the same. Let's do it for once and show you how it's done. I've chosen a passkey, which allows me to bypass entering passwords and remembering those complicated systems. So in case you're interested in knowing how that is done, let me know. We'll have a separate video covering that. So they're forwarding mail to that particular container email address that I have provided. I click on proceed. A confirmation link has been sent across to that address to verify its permission. Don't bother trying to spam me on this address because ClickUp allows me to reset the forwarding address given over here. Let's go back into that container and see what's happened there. As you can see, I have just received an email from Gmail asking me to confirm whether this forwarding address can be accepted. I have to go through the confirmation process. Scroll down, click the below link to confirm the request. So I choose this link. Go over and confirm the request. I have a confirmation success tag on the menu. And if I were to refresh the verification process, I should see that we now have a forwarding address set up. Now, time to move to the next step, which is to create a filter that ensures that Google knows what emails do I want sent across to ClickUp. I don't want all my emails to be sent over. I just want ones from my client. So let's pick a sample email from my client. Here we go. I right click on that, find similar emails, follow the same process that we did in the filter and tag routine. I apply a label. This time around, I apply the label saying it's a ClickUp client. I want to apply it to all conversations. And I also want it to be forwarded to the particular email address that I have provided and now validated. I create this filter. We need to verify. Yeah. This would be a one-time activity when you set up. And as I mentioned earlier, I have been able to bypass the complicated process by just using the passkey option provided by Google and other similar service providers. Done. Let's test it out. Now, the best way to test it out is to ask this client to send me yet another email. All right. So I have this as now in the role of the client. I would like to send an email to my Gmail address asking me to create more content around ClickUp's hierarchy, coming up soon. As you can see, the email from the client has arrived inside my inbox and the label of ClickUp has been applied to it. But more importantly, you can see over at ClickUp that the same email has automatically come into my inbox and it has been created as a task. I can even see inside the description that the content of the email, create more content around ClickUp's hierarchy, has been automatically imported. Inside ClickUp, I can now do additional actions such as delegate it to an assignee, attach a due date for this particular task, feed in the priority of the task and the importance of the task, which allows me to instruct ClickUp on how to create a prioritization system for it, as well as move it to a container where it belongs. So this is a work-related task, so I can move it in there. And ClickUp, in this particular template which I have created, there is an automation working quietly in the background where if I now were to go inside, I have work-related tasks that will be sent into this container. So right now you can see the task right here, and within a moment an automation will take over sending this task to that particular container. And that's how you can set up an auto forwarding system. This allows you to break up every task inside your container in your Gmail into actionable items and match them to a specific container inside your Action Hub, which means that I can set up a separate set of rules to different kinds of emails that I receive, and I can point them to various containers inside ClickUp automatically. Let's move one step further. Now we're getting into custom automations territory. If you're new to this, don't be alarmed. Just follow along and you'll see how it's no more complicated than explaining how a car works to a child. Depending on what your child is like, that could be easy or difficult. In our previous example, having an auto-forwarding rule ensures that all email bearing a certain tag will be sent into our action tool, aka ClickUp. Even emails you've attended. Also, the auto-forwarding setup still needs you to manually enter details like due dates, assignees, priorities, and any other custom details associated with that email. And that would have to be done manually in ClickUp or equivalent tools later. That's fine if your volume of tasks are low. But what if it isn't? Make.com is my tool of choice here. It acts as a translator between two apps, watching for an event in one app and triggering an action in another. This allows us to forge a custom connection between our email and our Action Hub. Again, ClickUp in my case. The best way to understand it is to go along with our example. We will use Make.com to connect my email with ClickUp and have more control over what mails to be sent across and how I automate, add due dates, delegate it, and add more context to that email, turning it into a well-defined task. You can grab my affiliate link from the description to try Make.com for free. You can test as many custom automations as you want and have 2 of them running actively at any time with the free plan. When you, like me, are convinced of its awesome powers, you can choose to buy it for as low as $9 per month to unlock unlimited automations, scenarios working for you simultaneously, and more than 10,000 operations loading into that. If you're interested in knowing what these are and how to use make.com, let me know in the comments below and I will make more videos serving that soon. But for now, let's get back to our Gmail situation and make it happen. So in our previous example, we put a blanket rule saying all mails received from my client would be tagged as ClickUp and would be auto-forwarded into my ClickUp inbox using an auto-forwarding email. However, what if I was active at my email? I received that email, I have already acted upon it. Would I want to still send that into my action hub? Maybe not. But again, what if there are bulk emails coming in and all of them go into my inbox? I would still need to manually update the various fields that you saw me put in. Who do I delegate it to? What is the due date? What is the priority setup? And any other custom fields that I would want to put into that. Is there a way for us to do it automatically? That's where make comes in. So let's do something. I have removed the auto forwarding rule from client emails now. All I have told Gmail to do now is any client email that comes in would retain the label of ClickUp automatically. Now we use make.com's powers to handle the rest of it automatically. Let's see how that can be done. The first time you set it up and come to the dashboard, this is what you would see. Of course, your graph may not be moving right now because I have other active scenarios loading data in. Let's start by creating what make.com calls a scenario. A scenario is an end-to-end automation starting from what is the data that you want to capture or what data are you watching out for and how do you translate that into action in a different location. So action happening in Gmail triggers a reaction inside ClickUp. So which means we have to first bring the players onto the field. Our first player is Gmail. So in here, as you log in, you will see this giant plus button which allows you to add in the players for this particular automation. Our first player is Gmail. And what we want make.com to do is to watch for emails in Gmail. And when you first come in here, Make asks you, what account of Gmail do you want to connect to? And you choose the account from where you want make.com to watch for client emails. In the case of folders, I'm looking at either the inbox or all mail. And I apply a simple filter where the criteria is I want only unread emails. So this automatically skips any email that I may have read and already acted upon. Maximum number of results tells make.com how many emails at a time would I like to be forwarded in any given scenario run. I will put 5 results, but we will do an example with just one of it. With that, the first player is about to start. So we will start from now on. And the next player is ClickUp. And inside ClickUp, all we want is to add a task. So let's just type on add a task or create a task in this particular case. There are multiple modules called create a task. So I want to choose the simple one. And once again, you will have to allow make.com to connect into your ClickUp account. Fortunately, it's a guided process within Make and it's a fairly simple one. So I want to connect it to the ClickUp's large container called Arun's Life operating system. And from there, I can drill down to the exact container list or folder or space where the task would be sent to. Now I can work my way down from the workspace to my MyLifeOS, which is currently in use, and there is no folder. I have directly given a list by the name of start here. which we had seen in the previous example. Now, I can ask make.com to automatically acquire the names and details of the tasks that I need to be sent here. There you go. This tells make.com what aspects from my email would I like to import into the task inside ClickUp. And some of it can be automatically imported from the email. Some of it can be manually inserted by me, and some of it I get controls from make.com itself. Let me show you what I mean by that. So the task name, in this particular case, I would say the subject would be the task name. The content of the task would, I think, have to be the body of the email that I'm looking for. So in which case I just look for the field which corresponds to the body. The text content, which would be the body of the email. Now, I can tell make.com to add any additional data that is relevant to this container here, which is the start here container, where I can define the assignee. I can even give in the custom details which I had placed in. For instance, what destination it might go to, what is the level of urgency and importance. So if I were to mark all client related emails as important, I can do the same. Urgency levels, I can redefine it later, but right now I'd like to call it as less urgent. Yeah, and here's where I can do further. I can even choose what due date I would like to automatically apply to the task. Let's say I want to give the due date to be as 1 day from the date of receipt of the email. This ensures that I have a 1-day turnaround time for all my client emails. So I can apply a rule whereby I choose the date from inside the mail itself, but I can add a date related formula which allows me to add days, drag that field in here, and this tells me how I can treat that formula. So I can add days to the date field, and I add one more date to it. So I have now set up both the players. I wanted to watch for emails, and when an email comes in and it is unread, I would like make.com to create a task inside ClickUp. Now, let's take a look at one additional filter I want to add. We have already said to our Gmail address to tag all client emails as ClickUp. I want to transfer that information to Make as well. I don't want Make to send all unread emails into ClickUp. I only wanted to send my client emails. And that's where we get to do a filter inside make.com. And this little spanner icon that you see here is a place where you can set up a filter. And let's quickly call what this filter is labeled as. Only ClickUp clients. This label field is just for our understanding, so write with it in a way that you would remember later. Once you have labeled the filter, let's put in a condition. So here, I would like to find the labels from here. So all I want to say is that the labels field can contain the term that we have defined, which is ClickUp. And now you can see that the spanner logo has converted into a filter and tells us that only ClickUp clients would be filtered out of the labels field using the label that we have defined. So when an email comes in, ClickUp would first check whether it is an unread email. It would then apply a filter of only ClickUp clients and send that across to create a task. Let's see that in action. So for the very first part, we're going to test it out by giving a dummy email from a client, and we will see if our rules are set up correctly and are working properly. Now, all I need to do is go into my test scenario, and send a test email for make.com to work with. Let's send this test email from my client. So choose where to start. Normally, this is not the way you would set up the automation. This is purely for a test run. The best way to go about would be to set up a schedule, and we can do that as a separate exercise. But for today, I want to show you how to test this automation. So we choose where to start. We point it to the dummy email that we have sent across. And we have this email that's come in. And we tell make.com to test that out. We need to check it out. It runs. There you go. So these bubbles popping up here lets us know that the scenario has run successfully. And if you click on any one of these bubbles, you will get to see that here is the subject of the email that it has picked up. And it would have also checked whether the filter works. So labels does contain ClickUp. So you have a green check mark letting you know that make.com was able to read that label. And it also tells you that it took the input details from Gmail's mail ID and was able to create an output, which was the task. Now, the correct test for that would be to go into my start here, and you can immediately see that the subject of the email standalone make.com has come in here. The due date is already set up for tomorrow according to the rules that we have defined for it. The urgency and the importance was also taken into consideration automatically, and the task was assigned to me. Subject of the mail that was sent to me has been imported into the descriptions. This makes the make.com integration a much more refined way to deploy that particular automation. And I have already given you the details on how you can get yourself one of these. What are you waiting for? Whether you chose one or more of these suggestions, I am confident you will have shaved off precious minutes, if not hours, trying to wrangle the multi-layered hydra of email that just won't die. What worked best for you? Filter, forward, or forge? Let me know in the comments below. If you are someone who could benefit from taking that email chaos, add in your other tasks, projects, and notes into a controlled environment, allowing you to organize, review, and act on them, then I might have just the thing for you. MyLifeOS. MyLifeOS is a template supported by a user guide that helps you tame your tasks, projects, and digital clutter. It is developed by me in ClickUp, and you can learn more about it in the link in the description below. The first 100 buyers get 25% off. If you want to stay updated on more such easy and practical solutions to work-life problems, then stay tuned to Work Life Win Repeat and let the YouTube algorithms know that you like it. Share it with your colleagues and friends, because productivity isn't an island. See you in the next video. Till then, be intentional, be curious.